A slim majority of Americans, 52%, view China unfavorably, but 87% view its military power as an important or critical threat to the US. 86% feel the same about China's economic power. Of course, the fact that a country is an economic force to be reckoned with doesn't make that country an enemy. China has never been an unconditional ally, though, and there always seems to be tension between us and the Chinese. A somber report released last year by General Martin Dempsey warns of a low but growing probability of the US fighting a war with a major power like China, with immense consequences. China's actions are adding tension to the Asia-Pacific region, the document states, in reference to China's land reclaiming efforts to build islands on the contested South China Sea to boost its military and civilian presence. We think China and the US have smart enough leaders to never let the lingering tensions that always seem to be there reach a boiling point. But China's so large and strong that it's definitely worthy of its spot on this list. Iraq has been a mess for longer than we can remember. In 2003, we led the shock and awe bombing invasion against Saddam Hussein, thought to be harboring and supporting al-Qaeda. We, a country still looking for revenge and seeing a place where basic human freedoms are stifled, thought we were doing right, but may have done more harm than good. The conflict continued for much of the next decade. As an insurgency emerged, the power vacuum following Saddam's demise and the mismanagement of the occupation led to widespread violence between Shias and Sunnis, as well as the occupying forces and the post-invasion government put there by us. This morphing into a doctrine of Sunni Islam, a group better known as Daesh and better still known as ISIS. The Islamic State of Iraq and Syria were strengthened in the Arab uprisings that erupted throughout 2011 and 2012, and the acts of terror have spread. The Paris attacks gained massive attention, Brussels, San Bernardino, and countless others. Directed at more than just US targets, though, ISIS are proving difficult to catch, but if we did go to war with them, we wouldn't be going it alone. Even though last year a nuclear deal was reached with Iran, 75% of Americans think the development of nuclear weapons by Iran constitutes a critical threat to the US. Even more concerning is how unstable the country is, and whose hands those weapons could eventually fall into. Assad is an absolute tyrant whose fall is surely unavoidable. But by who? Though it should be noted that his demise has seemed inevitable for years now, he's still reigning the divided nation. It's hard to imagine Iran fixing their problems anytime soon. It will probably take decades, even if they are able to restructure to any reasonable degree. ISIS is slowly being pushed back by Iran's army, with the help of bombings by other countries. But even without ISIS, the country's on its ass and will remain a threat to its neighboring countries and potentially the US. The new chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Marine General Joseph Dunford, made a splash at his confirmation hearing last year by saying, "Russia presents the greatest threat to our national security." Why? Because it's a nuclear power. As such, it could pose an existential threat to the United States. And Russia's behavior in recent years is nothing short of alarming, in Dunford's estimation. Only 4 years ago, half of the American public viewed Russia favorably, and only 2% viewed it as the United States' greatest enemy. But a series of events pitting the US and Russia against each other has soured the relationship. Only 30% now have a favorable view of Russia, and 86% regard Russia's military power as either an important or a critical threat. Russia is a force to be reckoned with, especially with Vladimir Putin reigning strong. Putin is corrupt, unpredictable, and dangerous. Some say he's laundered so much money he's probably the richest man on earth, and he'll stop at nothing to continue to add on to his own fortune. Putin might be greedy, but he isn't a total loose cannon, and he probably knows better than to wage war against us. Nevertheless, Russia's up there when it comes to countries that the American people are most afraid of. A majority of US adults regard North Korea's military power as a critical threat. As we discussed in our video a few weeks ago, North Korea isn't a threat per se, in the sense that their army is inferior to ours, but they are an extremely unstable country that could do some damage even without a chance of winning. With Kim Jong-un at the helm of North Korea, it seems to be even more unstable than ever before. This guy is a maniac, and it seems like he actually believes he could win a war against us. While some worry the North may provoke a conventional forces border clash with South Korea, threats to launch a nuclear strike are often seen as a bluff, because it's thought that a nuclear attack would be suicide for the regime. But with Kim Jong-un, anything is possible. The regime has been conducting more and more tests with rockets, leading many to believe that they're trying to develop a rocket that can reach the US coastline. One thing remains certain, though. If UN makes a move against us, South Korea, or any other ally, they'll get totally crushed.